The Seraph's promise wasn't a warship or a research vessel. It was a refuge, a wandering home for the lost and the broken. Humans and aliens alike drifted through its decks, each with their own scars, their own stories. Among them was a tiny alien named Nairai, barely 90 centimeters tall, covered in soft lavender fur that shimmered under the ship's light. She was quiet, nimble, and endlessly busy. The crew adored her, how she darted around with her cleaning tools, humming softly in her strange tongue. She'd come aboard as part of a refugee exchange, her world destroyed in a cosmic storm, and now she worked in the crew quarters, keeping things tidy while trying to understand human customs. Nairai loved her job, mostly because it distracted her from the ache of loneliness. Humans were fascinating creatures, loud, messy, emotional, but warm in a way she'd never known. Still, she always kept her distance, her big golden eyes watching from the shadows, too shy to speak more than a few words. That morning, she entered cabin 14B, where a human named Eli had been assigned after returning from a deep space mission. His file marked him as medically unstable. Nairai didn't understand the details, something about stasis fatigue and neural collapse. The cabin looked untouched for months. She sighed softly and floated up using her gravity belt, pulling blankets and cleaning dust from the air vents. The hum of the ship surrounded her, a sound that made her feel safe. She moved to the bed and grabbed the blanket to shake it out.
And it moved.
Nairai froze midair, her small heart hammering. The blanket twitched again, a muffled groan echoing from beneath. By the moons, she squeaked, dropping her cleaner. Something's alive. The blanket shifted again, and a human hand, slid out. Pale, trembling fingers reached for the air. Nairai let out a scream so loud the ship's cleaning bots paused in confusion. Then a weak voice croaked, "Water, please." Nairai hovered, shaking, her fur puffed in fear. But something about that voice, soft, tired, human, cut through her panic. She hesitated, then slowly peeled the blanket away. Underneath lay Eli, barely conscious, eyes half open. His body was thin, his skin glistening with the frost of stasis recovery. "You're not supposed to be awake," Nairai whispered in broken galactic common. Medical said no movement. Eli blinked groggily, struggling to focus on the tiny alien floating above him. "Who are you?" "Cleaner," she said quickly. "You almost scared me into molt." Despite his weakness, Eli gave a faint chuckle. "Sorry about that. Guess I needed to breathe." Instinct pushed Nairai forward. She fetched a hydration pack, hovering by his side as he drank. His fingers brushed her hand by accident, and she stiffened, surprised by how warm he felt. "Thank you," Eli whispered. "Didn't think anyone would be here." "Always cleaning," Nairai said proudly, then frowned. "You look broken." "Feels that way," he murmured. Over the next few hours, Nairai stayed with him. She adjusted the ship's temperature, fetched supplies, and even made him laugh when she tried to explain how her people used mood whiskers to communicate feelings. When Eli smiled, her own fur glowed faintly blue, a sign of comfort. Days passed. The medical staff cleared him, but Eli didn't move much from his bed. Every day, Nairai came in to clean, but now she lingered, pretending to scrub things just to talk. They spoke about Earth, about her shattered homeworld, about the loneliness of the stars. "You know," Eli said one evening, "you're the first person I've met who doesn't look at me like a survivor." Nairai tilted her head. "You are survivor." "Maybe," he said softly. "But sometimes I feel like I left too much behind in that cryopod." She floated closer, eyes glowing faintly. "Then maybe clean heart, like I clean room." He laughed, and for the first time in years, it didn't sound hollow. That night, she left a small glowing feather, a charm from her people, on his pillow. "For good rest," she said simply. But fate, as always, had plans. A week later, alarms blared across the ship. A micrometeor storm struck one of the outer hulls, and Cabin 14B lost partial pressure. The emergency seals held, but Eli's oxygen line ruptured before he could react. By the time help arrived, he'd lost consciousness again. When Nairai found him in the infirmary, hooked to monitors, something broke inside her. She climbed onto the table, her tiny hands gripping his wrist. "Wake," she whispered. "You promised stories today." No response. She sat there all night, humming the old lullabies of her people. Her fur dimmed to gray with sadness. Then, just before the dawn cycle, Eli stirred. His fingers twitched, brushing her fur. "Still cleaning," he murmured weakly. Nairai sobbed in relief, pressing her forehead to his hand. "Always cleaning," she whispered. From then on, something between them changed. He began to recover faster than expected, and she stayed by his side, no longer pretending to tidy up. She taught him her songs. He taught her to make coffee. They became inseparable, two broken souls who somehow fit together. But there was one thing Eli didn't know. Nairai was dying. Her species wasn't meant to survive long in artificial gravity. The radiation of human ships eroded her body slowly, and every time she smiled at him, she felt a little weaker. Yet she never said a word. She only wanted him to live, really live. One evening, as he told her about the sunsets on Earth, her tiny voice interrupted him. "Eli, you say sunsets are orange?" He nodded. "Deep orange, like fire melting into the ocean." She smiled faintly. "My fur once was that color, before it turned blue." He frowned. "Nairai, what are you saying?" "Nothing," she said quickly, trying to hide her trembling. "Just tired." That night, she didn't come to clean. Or the next. When Eli finally found her in the observation deck, she was curled beside the viewport, watching the stars. Her breathing was faint. "You weren't supposed to find me," she whispered. He knelt beside her, voice shaking. "You think I'd let you fade alone?" She looked up at him, eyes shimmering. Then a watch, like humans watch sunsets. And in that moment, as the first light of a distant star washed over them, her fur began to glow brighter than ever before, radiant orange and gold. She smiled through the shimmer. "Not dirty anymore," she whispered. "Clean like new dawn." Eli held her gently as the glow faded. Her last breath left warmth on his chest, and her tiny feather charm flickered softly beside her. Months later, the crew of the Seraph's Promise noticed that Eli had begun to hum while cleaning his quarters, soft alien melodies no one else could name. On his shelf, he kept a single orange feather sealed in glass, labeled in careful handwriting, "For good rest." And every night, when the ship drifted past new suns, he whispered to the stars, "Still cleaning, Nairai. Still watching sunsets." Because some hearts never stop glowing, even when the stars grow cold.